Hi everyone, I'm Sarah.
My name's Nando, and you're
welcome to Portal to the Paranormal
Thriller Podcast Live.
Yeah.
It's been a little while, so I hope everyone's doing well. Just getting some people into the room. So tonight we have two guests joining us.
All the way from Bonnie, Scotland. It's been a while. Paranormal and Histories. Very special guests, aren't they?
Yeah. Scott Mathewson
and Sarah Walker.
So let's bring them on. Good evening, guys. How you doing?
Hi.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. We're doing really well. It's been. Excuse me if I keep disappearing. You know. But...
Yeah, we were just having a quick chat with Scott, and if you notice, guys, every so often Scott will move, and he just turns into the boggling head.
He looks like a floating head, and it's really spooky.
There we go.
And what's the backdrop you've got on there, Scott? That's a great backdrop.
That's Greyfriars Kirk in Edinburgh. That's the.
If you move, they'll see it.
If I move, you'll see it. There you go.
Oh yeah. And that's where all the action's at, isn't it?
Oh, there I'm back. I'm not used to that. I'm used to just the plain backdrop.
Looks good though.
And yes and no. Greyfriars it's a beautiful place. We've been there. I don't know many times. Hundreds of times. It's got a reputation. It's the most haunted kirkyard in the world. And I'm not disrespecting it, but we've done a few investigations there prior to us finding out that they're actually banned. And we have never had anything. We picked up on a male spirit. Hi Gail, she's one of us.
Hi Gail.
We picked up on a male spirit very briefly, wasn't it? You're talking seconds.
Right, it was about a minute tops, I think.
It was really, really brief, and then it was gone. And that's the only connectivity we've ever had at Greyfriars. I'm not saying that, I'm not dissing, I'm not saying that people are wrong, but for our experience, we've never had anything. But you always get people that say, oh, when you walk in, it's terrifying, and we don't want to go in, but it's not terrifying. It's very, very peaceful. And the weird thing about Greyfriars that I've always found is it's right in the heart of Edinburgh. It sits just below the castle, basically, and it sits on one of the main routes in and out of Edinburgh. So you've got a lot of cars, buses, trucks, tourists. It's constantly busy. As soon as you walk in the gates, it's like it takes you're stepping back in time, to the 16, 1700s. And it's, you would actually need to go and experience it. As soon as you feel when you go in that you are surrounded by people, spirit whatever, watching you, but they're just standing watching.
For those that don't know, especially the people watching, what is Greyfriars? What was the purpose of it? Is it a graveyard? Is it a workhouse? It seems like I'm looking at like.
Greyfriars started out in the 1100s. Now, as Sarah disputes this wee bit, it started out as a kind of garden area. The main burial spot in Edinburgh back then was St Giles Kirkyard, which sat down at the back of the cathedral. But when that was full, the authorities petitioned Mary Queen of Scots and asked if they could use Greyfriars to bury people. So the first burial in Greyfriars was in 1652. It takes its name. The reason it's called Greyfriars is because in the 1100s a group of Franciscan monks settled there. And the habits they wore were grey, basically. So you get grey friars.
Oh.
Kirkyard. Kirk is another Scottish word for a graveyard. So Greyfriars graveyard, Greyfriars Kirk. So that's where the name comes from. So it actually started out as a kind of garden area. But after St Giles kind of filled up, they needed somewhere else. And they asked, the Queen, can we use Greyfriars? And that's how it became a burial ground.
Oh, brilliant. And, on the subject, everyone has a start of coming into this field of the paranormal. How did you two get involved with the paranormal? Is it something that you've always been doing, or how did it all come about? And paranormal in history, how did that come about for you guys?
Do you want to go first?
Well, I think Scott had been in. No, you tell me about it first.
Right, fine. I've been into paranormal for, I don't know, 30 plus years. I've always been interested in, the usual, started watching horror films and all the rest of it. Jason Voorhees was always a big hero of mine. I know that sounds wrong, because he used to cut people up, but and then as time went on, in my kind of 20s, one of the guys I worked beside, he knew I was into it, and he says, well, my uncle runs a spiritualist church in Glasgow, where I'm originally from. Do you want to go, do you want to come along? So I started going there, and until every Sunday I went there and seen various mediums and what have you. And that was me. I was just, one night I went to a totally new church, never been to before, and I got stuff for the medium that nobody could have known. She told me about a daughter I'd lost and an ex-girlfriend. He said, the things that nobody could have known. So that kind of sealed the deal for me. And, after that, I was watching all the usual ghost shows, reading books, anything I could kind of get my hands on. I never actually started investigating until we started Paranormal History. I'd watched the investigation, but I'd never actually started it. And how we started is we met people. I got asked to go on a podcast over 2 years ago. It was one of the groups I was in. They says, you want to come up? They had me done as a medium, and so I went on the guys with that. I know you're a medium. I says, no, I'm no medium. I'm no anything. Your information's kind of wrong here. But and then people say, why don't you start your own group, your own channel? And so we decided, why not? Let's just. So when we first started it, we thought it's only going to last about a month or something. We'd never done anything like this before in our life. It's like, it's a new thing. So it'll probably last about a month, and we'll either get fed up with it or just nobody's going to want to watch us, and we'll just shut the doors. But it took off, and that's how we came about. That's it. That's where the paranormal side came from. And I'll let you tell you about the history side of it.
Whereas I don't really like the paranormal side of it. It was more a case of Scott wouldn't shut up. And do this with me. I'm not doing it myself, so I was like, right, fine. So I'm more into the history side.
Yeah.
So we decided to combine the two, and that's how paranormal and history came about.
We were trying to choose a name. It's like you're trying to choose a name.
Yeah.
You don't want to choose something that's totally cheesy, or something that says, "Oh, come on, look at us," sort of thing. So we started with all different kind of ideas, and then we thought, well, you get paranormal and it's history. So what about the paranormal in the history?
Yeah,
that's a really good name, because paranormal and history go in hand, like Sarah says quite a few times, hand in hand. So that's a really good name.
If you go to some old castle or any location that's really ancient, it's guaranteed to be stories of ghosts there, isn't there?
Aye. That's because there is. You can't go anywhere paranormal. You can't go anywhere without there being history.
So you
go first.
So you've got your own team, haven't you, Scott? Is there anybody in there that's sensitive or like psychic, or how many of yours is there?
We've got two teams. We've got the Scottish team and we've got an American team as well. On this side of the pond, we've got ourselves, we've got Gail, we've got Laura, Laura's husband, Gail's husband. So that's 6.
Mm-hmm. And we've got two
in the background sort of thing. That don't really come out a lot, but they're still part of the team, Laura's a little sensitive.
Just saying that as well.
You got to watch what you're saying. I'm only kidding. I couldn't resist. Sorry, Laura. That was on a plate. That one. Come on, that was a kind of dad joke.
But I think as far as abilities go, I think you and Laura are more in tune.
I don't call myself psychic or no offence to mediums, but I don't believe in putting a label on it.
No.
I do pick on. It's not all the time. I can pick up on spirits sometimes. It can be weeks apart, or it can be the day after the last day sort of thing. But some people says, "Oh, you're a sensitive, you're a medium," and I hate. I don't think you should label yourself. You are what you are, and anybody can put their hand up and say, "Right, okay, right, I'm a medium."
Mm.
It's the easiest thing in the world to do, but I do pick up on spirit.
Usually when you're doing random stuff, like walking around Tesco, and a name will pop into your head, and you shout it out in the middle of Tesco, and you're like, "What are you talking about?"
Aye, it was a couple of years ago, but we were going down to this village in the afternoon to meet up with this woman, and we'd never met before, but I went to Tesco in the morning, and I kept getting the name Isabella in the back of my head constantly. This name Isabella. I came up the road, or Sarah, and I said, I keep getting this name Isabella. So we went in the afternoon, met up with this lady, and her friend came along. We didn't even know who she was. And they're saying, "Well, how's your day been?" And I said, "Well, I was in Tesco and I kept getting this name Isabella." And this lady's friend just froze basically and said, "Isabella's my gran." And I've been wanting her to let me know that she's about. Hey, Brian, buddy.
Hey, Brian.
That she's about. And so stuff like that will just pop into my head and I can't explain it, but I wouldn't say I was psychic, but Laura can pick up on animals at times as well. But we're just a normal team, we're not anything fancy,
We're all crazy.
Aye, we're all nuts. Well, these two are nuts as well.
To be fair, you got to be a little bit crazy to be happy to run in the dark in buildings and calling out things. It's not your normal kind of hobby, to be fair.
It's not your average night out, is it?
No, but we enjoy it. It's a fun industry to be in, and you learn a lot. But since doing this, then would you say that, not putting a label on you, Scott, but would you say that you're more open and you do feel a lot more since you've been doing the investigations?
I think you do. Aye, Randall, definitely, because I've spoken to a few people about this. You open yourself up without realising it. The more you go to investigations and the more you take to do with the paranormal, it's like a barrier. You're kind of subconsciously, that barrier's coming down. The longer you're in it. And so you do tend to pick up more and what have you without sort of realising it. And it's stuff you can't explain. But aye, definitely, the longer you're into paranormal, the more that barrier comes down. And I can't explain why. It just happens. I think it's because maybe you're starting, we all believe in the paranormal, otherwise we wouldn't be here, but you've got that bit of skeptic in you, which I think's really important to have. You've always got to have that wee bit skeptic in the background. And I think the more you do investigations, the more evidence you gather, the greater your belief is.
Yeah.
Because your belief's greater, that barrier's coming down and down more. If that makes sense.
It's an adrenaline rush, isn't it?
Sorry, no.
It's an adrenaline rush, especially when something happens. You're terrified, yet you're excited at the same time.
Oh no, I run away.
She's like, aye, she's going. No, you're right. It's an adrenaline rush. I mean, we were at two weeks ago with a team called Spig, who we've been at a few times with, and we were in this building, and there was Drigger, David, and myself. We were doing the stairs, and we were walking to what it's up on Facebook, I think. And there was a set of swing doors, and the threes were standing in the corridor, and the door started swinging.
Oh.
I was just about to go live. I was just about, and the door started swinging. And nobody touched it, and you get that kind of rush, you kind of. it's that take you back moment for you know. You stand back and think, did that happen? Did the three just see that door swing? Well, we're lucky it happened another twice on the caught it on camera. Tried to debunk it and we couldn't. So you do get that kind of adrenaline rush.
See, if I was doing the stairs, I'd have run away.
She would have been off. She would have been.
But with what you were saying earlier, Sarah, you're more about the history side of things, right? Which is great because I think Scott loves the paranormal as well, but you're more history. But when I take it you go out on investigations with Scott sometimes.
Yeah,
when things like that happen, does it? How do you react? Like, you know, what's your sort of thought process when something's picked up or Scott comes up with something quite random that's relevant to the location?
Or do they pick on you, or do they try and communicate with you, the spirits?
I get quite a lot of abuse when we're out investigating. I will admit, I have had quite a lot of abuse in my time, especially at Greyfriars. I get quite a bit of abuse that afternoon.
And did you know get called fatty or something?
I get told, what was it said? I get told to get out, and then it came through, oh, you can't, you're too fat or something like that. And then I got laughed at.
Is that on Spirit Box?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then...
that was in the Covenanters.
No, it wasn't. It was at Mackenzie's time.
Shows you what my memory's like, innit? My memory's shocking at times.
And then at a graveyard, and I get called a two-faced... What was it I get called?
I think Gal Davis just put that on there. I think that must be a few. A two-faced cow, apparently. So you get quite the brunt from these spirits. And have you ever identified if it's like a male spirit that's doing it, or a female spirit, or is it just?
No, I think it's just random. I don't think
it's random.
It's never the same.
Wow.
Has any of you guys been attacked or like brought something back with you?
Well, so far we've been lucky that way. We've never been attacked or brought anything back. I've been affected once by spirit. I know a lot of people, you know, think it's crap, but spirit can't affect you, but it can. I mean, Sarah, obviously, you and I have done a few shows together, and Nando know me as well. I'm quite a laid back person, you know. You know, I don't get angry or whatever. But we went to Canongate Kirk one night, which is down the bottom end of the Royal Mile. It's like another Greyfriars basically, and we get this overwhelming feeling that we weren't wanted there.
Yeah.
You know, we were not saying it wasn't demonic or anything. It was just a case of we were not wanted in that kirkyard. Sarah went back to the car.
Yeah.
And I went for a walk around the kirkyard. Because that's what you do. If you feel you're not wanted, you still go in. And when I came out, after I'd done the walk around, I came out to the car, I was furious. I just wanted to punch somebody in the face. Wow. Nobody had upset me. There was nobody in the kirkyard. I was just absolutely raging, and I couldn't explain why. So we jumped in the car and drove up to Greyfriars. The further I got away from Canongate, the feeling just disappeared. I was gone. No, I don't know if that's an attachment. You know, I don't know if that qualifies as an attachment, but something definitely did affect me by the time I walked through that graveyard, and I was absolutely raging. And then the feeling 10 minutes later was gone.
And experiencing that, Scott, you know, going through something like that must play on your emotions a little bit. You know, you're quite a laid back guy, nice guy, and then having that, you know, having yourself flipped into a totally different character. How did you process that feeling afterwards? So once you got home and you sort of digested and sort of thought about what had taken place, did it make you feel that maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or, you know, how did you
back
process
to see if it happens again, or to somebody else?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't really get much.
You can home make a cup of coffee and watch the horror film.
You know, when we were going up to Greyfriars and in Greyfriars, I was thinking about, you know, that was weird, you know. Can't explain that. That was so strange. But when I get home, you know, I was just saying a cup of coffee and horror film back there you go, and that was me. You just kind of got on with it. You know, I'm not saying I'm big and brave or anything, but I just kind of put out my mind, and that was it. Gail was saying what happened to my mum as well. Gail's mum came with us to Caldwell.
Yeah.
Caldwell last year, and we went the Friday night, and Caldwell was really a very active place.
It's a strange place.
Strange place, was really active. And Gail's mum had, I'm not going to give kind of private to her mum, but there was things happened, you know, that we couldn't explain, that came from, as far as we came from Caldwell, because the things she experienced tied in with stuff that we picked up on in previous investigations. But no, so spirit, spirit can affect you.
Yeah.
What
kind of locations have you got up there in Scotland? Like I say, you've got loads of history, but what can you name drop a few just to people watching if they want to explore?
Where have we been?
I'll cost you.
Yeah, where you been?
What names will cost you?
It's all right, we're down south. We're not going to poach any.
No,
We'll come up and visit you, mind, and we'll take us with you.
I'm not commandeering your show or anything, Sarah, but I've just realised that every time you're on with me, you have to do your accent, and you've not done it yet, even though it's all the way around.
I've got a few written down actually, and you could get.
You know, we always usually do it at the start, but you know, we'll let that one slide.
Well, first of all, Nando's got a little present to show you.
So my tribute, because I tried to do the accent and I failed miserably. So I went to the shop and bought myself a big bottle of Iron Brew. So that's my little. And I know, Sarah, you were saying that you like the old bottle of Iron Brew, so
I do
it. She can do the accent. So
I try. I might be any good at it. Might sound a bit Chinese. So if I say these phrases, you'll have to let me know if you can understand what I'm trying to say to you. Okay? Right.
Okay.
Many a Michael makes a muckle.
What?
Many a Michael makes a muckle.
Uh-huh. Many a Michael makes a Michael makes a muckle. You know what I mean?
I love it when she does it as
Many a Michael makes a muckle.
What's that meant to mean?
Like lots of save your pennies. Does it mean save your pennies and you make more?
To be honest, I don't actually know.
I don't know either.
I know the saying.
Have I said it right?
Right.
Yeah.
Near enough bang on. That's quite embarrassing, isn't it? I don't know what the saying means. I'll find that out.
You've heard of it though, haven't you?
I've heard it, heard it.
Try one more.
One more. Let me think. I've got one here. Go away and boil your heady off.
Away and boil your heat.
Yeah, that's it. Away and boil your heat.
Basically, that. You know,
your head's floating at the moment, but
well, I think Laura's going on about the previous one. It's to do with money. So Laura's sort of got the gist of that one.
I got one for the end,
Awesome.
but I'll save that because
you say that to somebody who you think's talking a load of rubbish, you know. So you make your Wayne, don't be daft. I mean, don't talk stupid. If you say Wayne, boil your head, that's basically what it means.
Yeah. Funny balls. You like a good funny ball, don't you? And you're a bit crabbit. You're crabbit.
She always pronunciates her R's, don't she?
Yeah. And would you like to see me fud?
You what?
Me fud.
Okay, I think we'll move on from that now.
Aye, moving swiftly along. You were talking.
So, nice one there.
It's all right.
All right. So going back, so with locations, one thing about Scotland, it is famous for many things, like their lively music culture, its whiskey distilleries, but also known for many paranormal sightings. One of which being in the Highlands, and it includes the ghost of Isabel Gowdie. Have I said that right? She was put on trial for witchcraft in the 1600s. You know, when it comes to that side of the paranormal, you know, things like witchcraft, what are your thoughts on that? Do you believe in that as well, or?
Well, last year we covered the witch trials with Witch Week, and we've also done a lot in Pendle, with, you know, Pendle and Forgotten Pendle with Simon Entwistle and various other people. The witch trials to us, it was just basically lynch mobs. It was a way to get rid of, you know, a love rival, a land rival. If you fell out with a neighbour, if there was somebody you didn't like, as soon as the finger was pointed and the accusation, you were doomed basically. And if you were different, you know, and if you were maybe disabled, or if you didn't love the same, if you were into, you know, you get into herbs and plants and stuff, or, you know, all this kind of, there was so many things that you could be labelled a witch for that are normal ways of life these days. And I think, you know, in Scotland, I think the figures of 6,000 executions for witchcraft. I dare say out of the 6,000, there was a majority that, you know, did dabble in the black arts, whatever you want to call it, but the majority of them, I would say, were innocent. The witch trials, in our opinion, were also another way to raise your stature in the eyes of the king. Because one of it was King James the first that started the whole witch thing, witch trials, what have you. And the more witches you executed, the more you were thought of by the king. It was also a money-making business as well. Like I say, Matthew Hopkins, you had the witch prickers. It was the same up here. You had witch prickers, etc. And again, it was just a way to make money.
The land, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Others were birthmarks, red tear, a wart, would you say with a mental illness, you were a witch. I mean, you know yourselves, the list is endless that you could be accused for. So the witch trials up here, to me, they were totally innocent, and they were recently pardoned.
I think some of them were.
Well, the majority of them were. They were pardoned because they finally admitted that all these people were innocent.
And do you guys believe in the witches, like the stories of witchcraft and everything? Do you believe that there were witches amongst us back in the day, you know, and things like that?
There's been many stories about, you know, witchcraft, and they've found sites in Scotland where, how can you put it, you know, they've found evidence of witchcraft, you know, it's markings and stone and stuff, witchcraft's actual occult symbols and stuff. So there is proof that it did happen, that there were actual, you know, what, you know, the occult was practiced in Scotland. But the majority of the other ones were just innocent people. But no, I definitely believe there was, and it probably still goes on to this day. You know, I dare say it does. Obviously, it's not as prominent as it was back in the 1600s. But I do believe there was definitely covens and rituals and stuff going on all over Scotland. I would say more up north than, you know, sort of where we are. Even though you did have the North Berwick witches, you Paisley witches as well. I think it would have been more kind of up north where it was less populated. Yeah. Back then.
Which mean back then? It still is less populated.
Well, okay, it still is. You know, you go beyond Perth, there's nobody there. You know, even to this day, there's no bugger there. So I think further north it was maybe, especially maybe Inverness or the Black Isle, connected there as well.
Have you got any urban legends or like stories of some sort of like? Oh, sorry.
Right, let me go and sort them out. You carry on talking.
Sorry about that. We got a situation. Yeah. Have you got any urban legends or stories of the old days or anything that you can come to mind?
urban legends.
Yeah.
What about here? Eh,
Good old ghost story that's like talk of the town.
We got the Gorbals vampire.
You got a vampire.
Well, the Gorbals vampire, that's a kind of urban legend in Glasgow. And there's been so many teams, as the Loris who popped up there, Gorbals vampire. There's been so many teams investigated, the necropolis and what have you. But how would you say? It was a comic book back in 1957-58 that came out. Now, the Gorbals is an area in Glasgow. Back then, it was one of the kind of poorer areas. What happened was this story came out in a comic book about this tall figure, iron fangs and stuff. So a group of kids for the Gorbals. There's a graveyard in the Gorbals as well. A group of kids decided we're going to go and hunt the vampire. As kids do, we've all done it when we were young, we're going to go and hunt for ghosts, and you read it in a book. And so these kids came back and says they'd found the Gorbals vampire. And for some reason, adults believed them.
Wow.
So this, and the police get involved as well. So this kind of started a mass hysteria that there was this, 8-foot tall figure with iron teeth kicking about the south side of Glasgow.
that was eating a child.
It was eating a child every day. One child was getting eaten by this. So people actually believe this. And to this day, it's quite funny actually, because teams go to the necropolis in Glasgow, in the central of Glasgow, which is a massive, massive graveyard. And they say, we found the Gorbals vampire, we picked up on him, he's definitely here, blah, blah, blah. But they're in the wrong graveyard. There's 2 necropolis in Glasgow. There's one in the centre, and there's a southern one, which is about 2.5-3 miles south of the main one. That's where the story originated from. Because these teams are going to the central one and say that they found them, and it always makes me laugh because they're in the wrong location.
And they found his grave.
And they say they found his grave in the necropolis as well. And one team even went as far to say, we found his grave and somebody's freshly painted the railings around it.
Wow.
And it's just so, I don't know if that would count as an urban legend, but as a Glaswegian, it really annoys me.
Yeah.
These people go in there and they'll say, oh, we found this grave. And first thing comes to my head is, excuse the French, you're in the wrong bloody place.
Yeah. And there's no evidence either. It's all just hearsay, isn't it?
Aye, that's, you're about 3 miles north of where you should be. So go to the other one. And it all just stemmed from a comic book, but for some reason it caught on, caused masses. Even the police were involved in this.
Jeez.
Jeez.
But they just created some graves as well, didn't they?
Aye, people were digging up graves saying, oh, this is where he is, this is where he's been. I think I've disappeared into her head or something. I look like my head coming out of that grave there. Did you see that? Did you see that?
Your head is just floating. You've got a question, haven't you?
But it's like you're saying, people, doing these investigations and basically making things up. One thing I've learned from, taking part in doing this, there is a lot of people that just make things up, and it makes everyone, I don't know if you would agree to this, but we as a team, we like to be very honest with people that we talk to, when we're out on investigations. If nothing's happening on investigation, we'll sit there and just start having a chat about random things. But you do get teams that make things up and make out something's going on.
Yeah.
And it just ruins it for everyone, because everyone in the paranormal industry, sort of gets put into the same bracket, don't they? Do you know what I mean? It's like very
we do say to our
disappointing.
Guests, we do say to our guests, if you think it, feel it, say it. If you can smell anything, just say it. We have to open them up to their paranormal experience, because we always say that everyone has a certain amount of sort of psychic ability in them. But then you do get some of them that are obviously full of haggis, if you know what I mean. That they're They're just blatant, feel like they just want to be a bit me, don't they?
It is just disappointing because it sort of
you can guess them ones. They're obvious, aren't they?
Ruins the evening, I think.
You've got a question that you're dying to ask.
Yes.
And it may sound a bit daft.
No, I don't think.
But no,
you guys living in Scotland all your lives,
what it is, the question, right?
Me and Scott, I'll be honest, we did touch base on this the other night because it was one thing that, it's been heavily televised over the years, the internet, all the time. Loch Ness Monster, it's... something is one of the big things in Scotland. There's been documentaries about it so many times, and I just want to get your guys' take on it. Have you guys ever tried to look into it yourselves, or
do you believe in it?
What about you, Sarah? Let's start with you, Sarah. What's your take on Loch Ness or Lockie?
I think that there was or is something in the loch, but I don't think it's a big monster that's the way it's been made out. It's probably
the pictures, because there's a lot of pictures of, like a big monster appearing out with a long neck, so would you, in your opinion, think that people are just making these pictures up? And
I think the most famous one was took by a Chinese photographer, and it turned out that he'd made a raft and put it in the water and took the picture to make it.
What about you?
Where do you start with Nessie? You know what I mean? I always give you two sides to the story. Nessie is a kind of Scottish, I don't know, I don't know what you call her, Scottish legend. It's probably one of the most famous Scottish legends. Nessie, every roundabout sort of Loch Ness, every shop you get into, you've got all the wee toys, key rings, everything, you name it. Some people say that it's a dinosaur that was trapped here. I don't think it's paranormal. I think it's possible a new or undiscovered marine life form.
That's what I said.
A lot of people say it was a dinosaur that was trapped here with ice age and what have you. But if you think how many millions of years ago that was, you've got a dinosaur in Loch Ness that's maybe 20, 30 million years old. Do you know, you need to think it that way as well. People have been searching for decades, and they've used all types of equipment. They have picked up stuff in the loch that they can't explain, shapes and stuff like that. Loch Ness is a sea loch, and it opens to the sea basically. Mathewson, it's 27 miles long.
Yeah.
The actual depth, I'm not sure the depth, but it's pretty deep, and there's numerous underwater caves. I think there is something, but what I think is it's a descendant of what I've, I think it's some kind of, Laura says as well, some kind of sea creature that comes in and out of the loch.
Yeah.
That's why they've never actually been able to pin it down for what, that it's only picked up randomly. So I believe what it is, I don't know. Is it a big dinosaur with big flippers and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'd say it's maybe some kind of marine life. I agree with what that we've not been identified.
Oh, what a horse!
It's just amazing because it's a story that's been on TV and again on the internet for so many years. But they've never, a lot of the pictures, if you have a look, because after I was speaking to you, Scott, about it, I'll be honest, I went on the internet and then I started looking at pictures and, a lot of the pictures that I was seeing was very like muffled pictures, like blurry pictures. There was nothing actually, hard evidence to say this is definitely something. You can always sort of say someone's put do you know when you insert like another picture into a photo and then you sort of, you blend it into the photo to make it look as real as possible. Some of them look like that, and it's...
That ocean is massive, though, isn't it? God knows what's in there. And sea creatures did exist, so it could just... You don't know, do you? Either that, or my other theory is that when Aleister Crowley was conjuring up that demon and he gave up and had a burger, I reckon he might have conjured up the Loch Ness Monster.
And stuck it in the water.
It's a beautiful place, though, isn't it?
It's a beautiful part of Scotland. I drove trucks for years and years, and I was up there every week, every Wednesday. That was my route coming back down from Inverness. And I spent many a night, you know, because I'd run out of driving hours and laybys on the banks of Loch Ness. And during the summer, I've swam in it a couple of times as well, you know, because you used to park up about 5 o'clock tea time, and you were there till maybe 4 or 5 the next day, you know, because you had to take your break. So it's a beautiful summer's night. You're sitting, you're sitting at the banks of the loch, and you're going for a wee paddle and what have you. And when you're swimming in it, it is at the back of your head that Nessie might bite your butt. You know, but I spent many a night sitting just looking at, you know, parts of the loch. As I say, it's 27 mile long, so you can't see the whole thing at one time. And occasionally you think you see a wee ripple in the waves and what, and also your mind takes it. It's the same as paranormal investigating. You might see a wee shadow, a light, and you think, what was that? So, I mean, you sit up there, and you think, that was a wee ripple in the waves. I wonder if that... So you start watching and watching. But the photographs, Nando, there's one famous photo. It's a black and white one. It's got the long neck coming out of the water. And for years, everybody believed that was a fake. It turned out it was a fake. They proved it was a fake photograph. And they got the guy that done it.
That's what I was talking about.
Was that a Chinese guy? I didn't know he was Chinese. But for years, people believed
it was Chinese.
That was Nessie. And then it was finally came out and all. And people went to ridiculous lengths using tyres, you know. Yeah. Tyres together and put them in the water and said that's the 3 humps. And the trouble is, a lot of people believe it. No disrespect to it. Everybody's got their own beliefs and what have you. Yeah. But you throw 3 tyres in Loch Ness and take a photo, you're going to get somebody who's going to believe it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, a lot of people do because they spend a lot of their time going to, you know, that part to see if they can get a sight in, and they, you know, even to this day, it's still very popular for people to, you know, go and do tests, you know, put things underwater, see if they can capture anything. And it's just one of those things that it's been up for so many years, but no hard evidence to actually show it's a Loch Ness Monster. And it was just, it was one of my burning questions to ask you guys to see what your take was on it.
I do believe
sonograph pictures and stuff.
The what though?
Did they not do like the high-tech imaging and all that?
They've done. There's been, you know, scientists from all over the world in Loch Ness, you know, using what, you know, space age equipment and all the rest of it. And they have picked up stuff, but they've never been able to explain what, you know, what it is they found.
What it actually is.
And so I believe there is something, you know, but then the other side of the coin is, do we want to know?
No, because it sort of ruins the
excitement.
The excitement for everyone. And once you know, that's it. That's the end of that story. For so many years, you know, it's one of the stories of Scotland is very popular for. And no, you wouldn't want to get the result, really.
Tourists would love it. They'd flock there, wouldn't they, if it was real?
The way you saw it, right, there's definitely this is real. You know, here's all the evidence, and people would flock, but then it kind of takes a part of the mystery away.
Magic away,
You know, I think it would take a bit of Scotland away from it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, just that way. So that's what I mean. Would I ever want to find out? If somebody was to say to me, right, do you want to know? I would say, none, really.
Just leave the mystery as it is and let it just keep going and keep going.
Let people have their own beliefs, let them go hunting for for Nessie and what have you, and just let it as it is. You know, that's my thoughts on it.
Why do you think it's called Nessie? Why do you think it's been
Loch Ness? The Loch Ness Monster. So
Scott, Sarah.
Yes.
Would like to ask about your methods. Are you into Victorian methods or like scientific methods or a little bit of both? Do you have experiments that you like using the most, or are you? We'll ask you about the EVPs later as well. But what kind of methods do you like using?
I think we're kind of mixed, aren't we, on how we investigate. We don't. I think it depends on location as well. if it's a fairly new location, then we'll tend to stick to fairly new things. But kind of older locations, that's when we try and go more old school with like the compass and the clothesline.
My clothesline. My wee clothesline.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this. So you put some rags on it or something and pin it up.
It's basically just a clothesline with bits of one of Scott's old t-shirts ripped, and we put a candle under it. And if the candle's obviously moving, then it shows there's a breeze. But if the candle's still in the bits of fabric move, then it's.
But you know it's not a draft because the candle's still burning. You know.
Yeah.
I know people argue the candle generates heat, which can move it, but you don't put the candle right underneath. You put the candle just a wee bit of distance away from it, so the heat's no rising underneath the material. We don't have any set kind of. I'm not a tech fan, as people know. I don't know anything about it. So the K2 meter, the cat balls, it's sort of basic stuff that a 5-year-old can use. That's my kind of stuff. Otherwise I'd break the other stuff. Probably try to use it. When we done the Ivy House in March with Charlie and Rox and other Ross Sheen and what have you, Charlie handed me this thing looked like a computer, and he said, try this, mate. And I don't know if he's going to watch this or not, but
was it a computer?
But he went back up the stairs and left me with this thing, and I didn't have a clue what to do with it. I was sitting in the floor in the Ivy House, like, how do you use this? So I think I like kind of basic methods. Another way of thinking is if you've got a spirit for the 1600s, whatever, they don't have a clue what an SLS camera is and stuff like that, So if you're kind of based, I'm not saying that they were stupid or anything, but obviously that stuff wasn't about then. They're going to understand a bit of rope more than they're going to understand an SLS camera.
Or a bowl of water.
Aye, bowl of water is something we've not tried yet. The K2 meter, I call that, I know people say touch this device. I usually just say touch that box. Because even back then, they would know what a box is. So we don't really have any set pattern. We've been looking at old school stuff and we've tried a few things, and I think we're going to kind of head down that road. You try and get back to basic methods, because they seem to have worked for us. Laura, we tried an experiment about a month ago. Something like Laura has problems with her hearing, and she had she called it a hearing device. It was like a set of headphones with a kind of microphone attached to it. So what we did was, this thing picks up, just with everything. We went to Kilwin and Abbey one night and we put Laura in a corner and we stood in another corner and we had a whiteboard and we done it live, and we asked people on the chat to put something in the chat that they wanted us to put on the board. So the first one was a circle. Now Laura, she couldn't see what we were putting on and we didn't say it out loud, so I drew a circle. And I just say, Spirit, can you tell me what I put in this book? And it took a few minutes, but Laura came back with, I'm getting something. And we get 4 kind of results out of that. 4 different answers that tied in with what was on the book.
To be fair, I think we would have got a lot more if my drawing wasn't absolute.
Well, aye, Sarah's drawing was a bit. But, so it was basic. And I think this is the trouble with paranormal as well. I think the paranormal is getting too technical.
Just simple calling out sometimes in the EVP recorder, or even have you done a Ouija board? Are you into them?
I've done it once, and it was part of the deal that I made with GSI. They drank a can of Iron Brew, actually.
They can be easily influenced, though, can't they?
And I found it quite relaxing. We'd only done it for about 10 minutes. I found it quite relaxing. I don't know if that's normal or not.
As long as you say goodbye.
I wouldn't choose to use Ouija board and relaxing in the same sentence, if I'm honest.
Depends who you get.
It's
really,
always because you hear so many stories about the Ouija board. It's sort of like, yeah.
So I'm weird then, but no, I mean, tech-wise, I mean, we've got various gadgets and what have you, but we don't have any preference, and we don't go with any kind of plan to what we're going to do. You know, it just
We don't go out absolutely rigged up either. We don't have like 5 SLS cameras, and we don't have one, to be fair.
I mean, we're seeing these investigators, no disrespect them, on, you know, YouTube and what have you. There's one particular guy in the Edinburgh area, and every time he goes out, you think he's going to invade Iraq or something. You know, the way he's got everything where he's got, so it takes him about 2 hours to set up. But he's got every gadget under the sun, and he puts them all together in the one spot, you know, and when he lights them all up, and it's like, I don't know, something like a spaceship, it's just all lit up. He done it in Greyfriars one night in a tomb, and the whole tomb was lit up.
Laser pens.
He never got a thing. He never got one idiot to get nothing. You know, I thought it was so funny, but it's just my sixth sense of humour.
They see on telly, don't they? I mean, the guests that we take out, they want to use it all, and of course we want to accommodate them, and they want to experience everything. But I think each to your own. Sometimes you don't need all that stuff, but sometimes it's fun just to have a go and see what happens.
That's I always say that, you know, if you can go with, you know, a camera, a cat ball, and a torch.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's, you know, basically, you know, and if you sit long enough and you ask the spirit to light the ball, if you get that ball lighting up, and that's the result.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Sarah's saying, it's everyone to their own, what they feel comfortable doing and what they believe. Is, you know, this industry is based on different opinions, and everyone's entitled to do the way they want to do things. But with your experiments and communicating with spirits, in your opinion, there's more on the spirit side when you do communicate with them. Do you feel spirits are, even when they're past, they're intelligent to know that they're moving on in time, so they're in the present where we are? Or do you think spirits are always stuck to the moment of when they died, so the periods, you know, so when you go to these locations, you know, do you think the spirits are roaming the buildings like it was when they were alive? Or do you feel that they're intelligent enough that they know that they're in the present and they've moved on centuries and things like that?
You want to go first?
No, you can go.
I think it's both. I think it's definitely both. We've done investigations where, like Caldwell, for instance, we spent about 2 months at Caldwell. I don't know how many investigations we've done, but we picked up on both residual and intelligent spirits. We seem to pick up on the residual more listening back to, you know, our recordings. One particular recording was a lift shaft. We could hear a lift going, and we were sitting right next to what used to be the old lift shaft. Jennifer, for our American team, she could hear what sounded like horses on cobblestones, which would tie in with the courtyard that was just outside the door. So we picked up on various things that were the residual hauntings. But then we have picked up where spirit has answered us to what questions we've asked. So I think it's both. And but you know yourself, with the paranormal, you know, you say, can spirits see each other as well? We believe they can. We've got one recording where it's like 3 or 4 spirits beside us, and there's a woman out there telling the other one, shh, they can see us.
Yeah.
So you think the spirits can communicate with each other in the spirit world as well, not just
amongst each other? Sometimes you can hear them.
100%. You know, I mean, look at this. I always say that spirit's the same as us, except they don't have a physical body. That's the only difference.
And the intelligent knocking as well, when you say once for no and twice for yes, when they start doing that, that's amazing when that happens. And that's definitely answering your questions. Or even on the K2, when they light up and you ask them yes, no questions, or can you go up to red, or that is amazing as well.
You know, you can't. I know a lot of people K2, it can be manipulated, and there's a lot, you know, in radio waves now. But as you say, when you ask it to go to yellow or red, and it does it and then drops back down, and that, you know, that's all it does. And I do believe they can see us, they can hear us. I do believe they remember us. The time thing, you see, this is something I've always wondered as well. Do they have a concept of time?
Yeah.
For example, see you go to a graveyard on a Saturday, you know, and you pick up a guy maybe called Fred, for example. You go back the following Saturday, and again, you pick up this guy called Fred. Now, to us, it's been a week. You know, so, you know, that's a week since we heard from Fred. I've always wondered, well, to Fred, is it a week or is no time passed at all for him?
Yeah. And can they travel as well? Can they travel from one place to another? Because same spirit can haunt two different locations as long as they've been there, I assume, or it's special to them.
You talk about, like, say, you know, multiple sightings of the same spirit.
Yeah, but in different locations. Say they went home and sat in the chair, but then they love to go fishing by a pond or something. Only as an example. And it's the same spirit being sat there, like, I don't know, like a bit like astral projection, I guess. But
I believe you can. I believe you can. Obviously, nobody's getting 100% answers, but I believe that when we do pass over, you can go where you like. Basically, I know a lot of people say there's a spirit trapped here, you know, for whatever reason. But no, I believe that when you pass over, if you want to go sit in a boat or sit in a bus, you know, whatever, then you're free to come and go as you please, basically.
Yeah.
So do you feel that spirits are intelligent enough to do what they want and make a decision still in the spirit world?
I believe spirit still has the capacity to learn in spirit. And this is a question that we have asked as well, with cameras getting turned off. You know, for example, we've had cameras turned off in investigations and then turned back on again. Anybody touching them? And we've had cameras turned off and stayed off. That happened recently, didn't it? One of our cameras, let's say, explain, she's a tech genius.
When you turn our cameras off, if you actually manually turn them off, it makes a wee noise.
Like a beeping, like a shutdown beep.
But if it dies, then it doesn't make that noise.
Okay.
At a private location a couple of weekends ago, and we were sitting and we were just talking. I think we were having a break at this point, and you heard the wee jingle that the camera makes when it went off, as if somebody had actually clicked it off. So Scott went to look at the camera, and it still had, what, 3/4 of a battery?
After the camera was off, I turned it back on, and it still had 3/4 of a battery on it. Then nobody had been near that camera because we were always sitting in the same room. And so I believe spirit has the capacity to learn and watch and learn how. Now, a lot of people might think it's crazy, you know, but, you know, we can't prove it, we can't disprove it. But to me, I believe spirit has the capacity to keep on learning. And if they watch you enough turning a camera off, they say, well, I remember how to do that. I'm going to turn that I'm going to turn that off. And bang, your camera's off.
So effectively what you're saying, that the spirits, every time we do an investigation with certain equipment, they're listening, they're learning. We're teaching the spirits how to communicate with us then, in a way.
We had an experience in Fort Woodley with a white washboard and do you remember, Nando? And we had a pen that was attached to a planchette, and we put the camera in front of it with a full battery, and it drained the battery.
And this was my camera. So before we went to this location, I had charged every camera in our box
overnight.
And one of our teammates, Jojo, she had a table built, and literally like a
Sharpie pen, wasn't
like
it?
a Sharpie pen, but put inside like a planchette.
On wheels.
And we just left it in the middle, right? And then we went to the other part of
Put the camera in front of it, didn't you?
Yeah, we set the camera up, switched it on, and we went to the other tunnels, and we carried on doing another investigation. And we come back, and literally from the middle, a line had been drawn, like a thick zigzaggy line. And I was like, this is brilliant. I've got the camera on. I went to, we come back and we downloaded all the files onto the computer, onto the TV. All the files weren't able to be played.
No.
For some reason, they had all come up with like a failed, and it's never happened before. And I've used this camera, you know, in multiple locations.
Yeah.
And I would, excuse my French, but I was so pissed off. I thought this could be like the best capture that I could ever caught. And literally every file was corrupted and it would not play.
No.
And then what I did, I went back to the same camera, filmed it, downloaded it, and I just filmed the kids messing around, re-downloaded it, put it on, and it played absolutely fine. And that was a bit of a shocker for us, you know. But have you experienced that as well then, with your equipment just going absolutely haywire?
We've had that quite a few times.
But I think the day that will stick in my mind is the day you went to Cowan. Scott went to 3 locations in the one night, and he went to a Drawson Castle and filmed it, and it filmed fine, totally fine. He went to Cowan Abbey, and the file was totally corrupted, wouldn't play whatsoever. And then he went to Eglinton Castle after that, and the first footage and the last footage worked out, but the middle footage was totally corrupted.
Mm-hmm. So I was back again another night to Cowan Abbey just to try it. Just walked about, filmed, and again it would not play. That's happened to us. It happened to us at Caldwell. Our first investigation with a locked off camera in the corner. Nobody was touching it. And we got a lot of activity. You know, we got quite a bit of activity every investigation, but the next day I was looking at the footage of the locked off camera and it cut off after about 6.5, 7 minutes. And, you know, Sarah's like, "Are you sure you turned it on?" I says, because it's recorded 6, 7 minutes. And then I started thinking it was around about that time that we started to get activity. After that kind of, you know, 7,
I think it was like 6:36 on the camera, and it was like 6:35 on the phone that the activity started.
Aye, so it was around about that time that activity started. So I started thinking, well, did somebody turn that camera off because they didn't want to be seen? They didn't want to be picked up. But it happened to Caldwell, it happened in the vaults, we've done the vaults.
It was like 6 different cameras.
So 6 different cameras in the vaults, and none of them turned it at all. None of them. It happened at the Ivy House as well. Footage never turned out. And it's true. I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, you had a dodgy camera," but it's happened too many times, as you guys have experienced as well. It's happened too many times to say it's a faulty camera. You know.
Have you had batteries drained and like your K2 batteries? You put a brand new one in and it's completely flat. After
not so much the K2. The laser pen was it quite a bit.
Aye.
Because our old laser pen was bad for it, so we bought a newer kind of high tech military grade, big fancy bloody laser pen. Cost a fortune, and we took it out with us 4 or 5 weekends ago.
Aye, and the battery just...
And the battery, 1 minute it was on, and then it went off like that, and then it came back on, and then it went off again.
Yeah, this is one thing that annoys me. That location we done 2 weeks ago with 10 batteries. We took 10 batteries with us, with 3 cameras I think we had. And I charged every single one of the batteries. You know, as you say, Andrew, you did the same. Every one of the batteries were charged fully. I spent 2 days charging them. We went to the location and they all ran dry within half an hour.
And 2 of them are brand new batteries. 2
of them are brand new batteries the first time they'd used them. And, you know, people say it's a faulty battery, but you hear far too many reports of teams in the UK, worldwide, and the common thing that they all have is battery drainage. You know, I don't care. Somebody comes to me and says that's a faulty battery. I say, well, it's, you know, 80% of the paranormal teams in the world using faulty batteries.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of activity that night? Because they usually drain the battery so they've got the energy to communicate. That's what they said.
The night we were the 10 batteries, that was the night we were the swinging doors.
Yeah.
And we were in, I think it was some kind of old theatre or something, part of the building. Laura and one of the other girls, they sat up the back row and they says they felt, was it get kicked or something?
Aye, the chair that was next to them got kicked.
Next to it was these, these chairs that you stand up and it shoots back up, kind of. So the chair got kicked. We heard quite a few. You heard various noises, what have you? One of the other guys and we were in a corridor and we heard a very, very distinct whispering as we walked by this door. I went to pack up all the gear myself. I was myself in the corridor and I heard the same whispering. And so there was quite a bit to me. Well, it was two separate floors, but there was various things going on in each floor, if that makes sense. I played music-proof phone. So we do tend to get a lot of activity when you get battery. Your battery's doing. Caldwell was the same.
But just going back on what Sarah was saying about, one of the common factors a lot of people say in the paranormal is, equipment being drained. Do you believe it's the spirits draining that to build energy for themselves? Or do you think it's spirits just choosing to do it so we can't physically film them?
As a wind up.
Yeah, like as a wind up. Do you know what I mean? It's just like,
both.
do you think it could be the spirit? Like they've got the energy because they're still about, they're still present. For them to be roaming these locations, they must have energy. So do you think it's more they're draining the equipment because they just want to annoy us, or they just don't want us to capture them in the moment? Do you think they choose?
Again, I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think you'll get some spirits that don't know. I call them new spirits. They've not been passed over that long, so they've not learned how to gather energy or stuff like that. And draining batteries probably the best way to do it, I would say. And then you are seriously, they've got to take the mickey. If you get a joker in life, there's got to be a joker in spirit, and he's I'm going to drain their batteries so that they can't catch me, or I'm just going to do it as a joke because I can,
Janet Bean just made a fair point. She said she plays music. It's also asking them general questions like, would you like a cup of tea or a cigarette or something like that? That gets a reaction too, doesn't it?
Like your smoky ghost.
Well, I don't know if I've told you about my smoking ghost, didn't I?
No.
Please share.
Oh, God, do tell.
I call it smoking ghost. It's an abandoned power station where we live, and we were down there one night. I was down with 3 or 4 different people. There's 3 levels this place. We've investigated it a few times and get various results, but there's a staircase in it, and we've been up the stairs, go very little, so right, we'll go down the stairs and go to the back end and try there. And we'd go activity on the staircase before, but we happened to stop on the staircase and I put a K2 meter down. We stopped for a cigarette, actually. I'm not promoting smoking, but we stopped for a cigarette. And I put the K2 meter down the step, and just by chance, I'd had a cigarette in my hand. And I'd say, I said, if there's any spirit here that would like a cigarette, make that box go to yellow. And it went to yellow, like that.
Wow.
I said, if you want a cigarette, make that box go to yellow again. And it went to yellow. So I put the cigarette down on the stairs and I says, right, I'm going to leave this here for you. Enjoy. That's yours now. If you're going to say thank you, make that box go to yellow. And it went to yellow.
Jeez.
Wow.
I left this. Some people say, did you leave? I said, I left the cigarette there.
Not lit, of course.
No, not lit. But so I call it the smoke. I didn't know where else to name it, so I call it the smoking ghost. But it was 3 intelligent responses in a row, basically, as soon as I asked the question. And let's face it, as we say, we're the same in spirit as we are here. So if you were a smoker or a drinker,
Yeah. Do you like a whiskey? Do you like a pint of beer?
If you like to be dram with the whiskey, but, in this life, then I dare say you're going to be, on the other side, maybe thinking, I'd love to have a whiskey, or I could go a smoke. I know some people might think that's nuts, but I think spirit I think investigating is a lot more simpler than a lot of people make it out to be.
Yeah.
Well, it's even things like trigger objects, you know,
Toys
can be
for
the
kids.
key thing, especially old toys. I find like wooden toys that they would have had, you know, stuff very simple. And I do agree, you know, equipment's out everywhere for the paranormal, but sometimes back to basics, as you were saying earlier on about the kind of investigations you're trying to do, back to basics sometimes is the best way, and just have a camera roll in, you know, and just do, you know, some calling out and sitting there listening.
A crucifix on a chalkboard, or writing on the chalkboard, close the door, and then just holding it up, and the door closes. You know, just things like that. It's simple. Or even like getting a necklace, and getting it to move the necklace.
I mean, you can get the same answers out of, you know, a cat ball than you can out of EVPs or an SLS camera. You know, if you say, if you're male, if you're male, make that ball light up, and the ball lights up, you say, well, I've got a man here.
Do you know what SLS camera is?
It's a stick thing. SLS is a stick man thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not technically minded, you know, it's just to me.
What was the most terrifying experience you guys have ever had? Poop your pants moment.
Me, it would have to be Canongate Kirk in Edinburgh. I was knelt down taking pictures of David Ritzel's grave, who was Mary Queen of Scots' secretary, and I seen a shadow going right. Well, I was looking at the wall, but the shadow was as if somebody was walking behind me.
Jeez.
And I got legs after that. I think that's.
See, I don't get. It's going to sound big-headed, but I don't get scared. You know, I'll go down the darkest basement myself. I have done it. You know, Dalk for harm, what have you.
Well done, you can say it.
I know. It was a word I could never say, but I managed to learn to say it. You know. And I've been down in the basement myself, just sitting there in the pitch black. I would say one time I've been freaked out, not to the point that I'm running and hiding up a tree or anything like that. You know?
Yeah.
Or I'm back in the boot of the car with the doors locked. But
You weren't far off it, let's be honest.
do you even know what time I'm talking about?
Yes.
What?
Loudon.
Aye. When we done Caldwell last year, I heard what I call the Whispering Lady. It was a sentence. It was a woman's voice whispering, and it was a sentence. And it took us ages and ages. It was actually Jim Martin, for the the Spirit Realm Network, that worked out what this lady was saying. It's on our TikTok. We've got it on our TikTok because we caught it on camera. And the lady says, "Is your light better now?" And so we were at Loudon Kirk about 5 weeks ago. The Caldwell was around about October time last year. We were at Loudon Kirk about 5-6 weeks ago, and we're doing the Blind Spirit box, and I was standing blindfolded and headphones on, just listening, and I heard the same voice, same woman, same sentence. "Is your light better now?" Just and I ripped the blindfold and the headphones off, and I say to the guy, I say, "Right, I'm done." You know, I wasn't scared or nothing. It was just one of the. Did I just hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shock.
I think what made it creepy was we were talking about it before you started the experiment.
We've been talking about it prior to that, you know, things we'd picked up and experienced, and then I heard that, you know, if you go on your TikTok, you hear it. It's one of the second or third video on TikTok. Is your light better now?
Oh.
And that was.
I have to get that up.
Yeah,
We?
definitely have to get that up.
And I couldn't explain it. It was just one of these freaked out moments. We still carried on the investigation, but it took me. I had to go and light up the old cigarette and what have you, and just kind of, you know,
Caught you off guard.
You know, but you know, you're thinking back on it. I did hear her. I know I heard her. Did she follow me for Caldwell? I'm not saying yes, but I can't explain it. But the girls have had a couple of freaked out moments with bats and pigeons.
Oh yeah. So there's one particular castle that we go to. We've not been for a while actually. We need to get back, but it sits right on the water. It sits right, and we were sitting and we were talking away, and it kept coming through on the spirit box. Turn round. That's all it kept coming through for a good 5 minutes. Was turn round, and we were like, no, we're not turning round so you can scare us. No. And then it came through, turned round again. So it just so happened that we turned round at that moment, and then a pigeon flew from one side of the castle roof to the other.
They get you like that, don't they? They do.
We all kind of.
Jeez.
But it was quite funny.
Everyone's screaming and running.
Raindrops kind of seem to scare us quite a bit.
I used it, not me. I'm scared of rain.
That night we were at Dalquahar at Halloween, and we were in that wee
tower, the old tower.
And it started raining, and then like it was getting quite heavy, and the way the rain was hitting off the stone where we were sitting, it sounded like something else.
Oh.
We went to investigate.
Aye, you see that's the thing. A lot of natural sounds. They do sound, and this is the trouble as we were saying earlier on about people making up evidence, faking evidence. You know, they jump in the back of the paranormal wagon. You know, everything to them will be paranormal.
Yeah.
You know, no doubt you guys have experienced it as well. Maybe at events.
Yeah.
You know, I think the other thing that people need to also bear in mind, you know, things do happen. I do agree, but with sounds in particular as well. You know, if you have something that's made a big sound, like something like a few hundred yards away from you, the sound travels, and as the sound travels, it changes the sound. You know, and I think people are too quick to sometimes jump and say that's definitely paranormal. Where for me, I'll be like more open and try and think about what could that mean something else, or you know, maybe because I'm the one in the team that gets scared of everything. Yeah. You know, if I'm honest, I'm the one that's sort of like, you know, we were investigating a place called Douglas. Remember, we did a sleepover. I think it was like, was it like a naval base or something like that? Yeah. And we were walking through these buildings that had multiple buildings, and we're walking on along one floor. And as I walked past, I saw a person stood in one of the rooms, and I completely shat myself to find out it was only a bloody mannequin. It was a mannequin that had just been left, and I was like, "That's it. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm done." But it does. But the thing is, doing this sort of thing, it does play with your mind, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes nothing paranormal is going on, but because you've got yourself all worked up and you're thinking about everything that's going on, the location, the history, do you think sometimes your mind plays tricks on you and makes you think that you are seeing things and hearing things?
I know 100%. You know, as you see, because if you're sitting, you know, like take Greyfriars for instance, you know, you could be sitting in Greyfriars at 3 a.m, which we've done, and it's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of you, and hearing these all different noises. You know, you're sitting on, you know, because obviously, you know, Greyfriars is just a mound of bodies, basically. The whole thing is just bodies. You're sitting on a hill of bodies. You know about these stories, you know, the stories, the reputation it's got. So all these things get into your head and they start going round and round. It sounds bad, Kerry, it's not meant to be. That doesn't freak me out because, you know, because we've done in Greyfriars, and so we don't kind of know Greyfriars inside out. But I think for other people who are kind of maybe new in the paranormal, it would absolutely freak them out if they heard maybe it could be a fox. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard a fox screeching.
Yeah, we get them around here.
Oh yes, and they're sitting that's it. They're off. You know, they're calling the police and everything. But it does affect, you know, it does, because you're in that kind of mind frame that
you've got to filter it out.
You're out there, you know, looking for spirit, hoping for something to happen, and you're kind of looking about, and you know, like you've been there yourself, obviously.
The adrenaline gets going, doesn't it? But you got to walk into, especially when you've been to a place a few times, you can just go in calm and just listen. Sometimes the best evidence is just to sit in the dark and listen, isn't it? And call out. Yeah.
You were saying about new people going into the paranormal, new investigators. As people have done this for quite a while now, what sort of advice would you give someone that's stepping into, that wants to join? If they come to you and say, "Hi, Scott, Sarah, I want to be an investigator," what kind of advice would you give them? Sarah, do you want to answer that one first?
Don't do it. No, get on.
That's the easiest answer. Don't do it. Go home.
I don't know. Try and think rationally and not jump to the conclusion that it's paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Got it?
That's my words of wisdom.
That's nice, sweet and simple, Sarah. I like it.
I like that.
Sweet and simple. What about you, Scott?
Big, long, complicated answer.
No, I'm not going to give a big, long, complicated spiel, you know. Every commitment, I would say, just take your time.
Mm.
You know, go at your own pace, follow your own instinct, your own gut feelings. If you're going to watch anybody on YouTube, watch, no offense to the bigger ones, but watch the smaller teams. Look for smaller teams, your teams that are learning as well. You know, watch them and learn along with them, rather than watch these bigger teams that have been doing it for years and, you know, they go and say, "We're doing this, we're doing that," and blah, blah, because you know yourself, that's not how it's done. So look for smaller channels and your channels and watch them. Just take your time. Be respectful and above all, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
At your own pace.
And with that question, for a new investigator, what pieces of equipment would you say the most important for them to start using straight away?
A torch, a camera, and your brain.
A torch, a camera, and their own senses. Go to a graveyard. I know I keep saying a graveyard. Go somewhere and just sit with a torch, a camera, and just see how you feel.
You wouldn't be very good at quick fire questions, would you? You always get one.
We're going to go down to our last few questions now, but I do want to ask you one. Anywhere in the world to investigate, where would you like to go, you guys? If you could investigate anywhere.
The Winchester House.
Yeah.
That's my 100% top list. I would go there. What about you? In one word, if possible.
I see. I've got two, but I've got two of that are the same.
Okay.
And I wouldn't know which. I've got Alcatraz and I've got Graceland.
Oh, Alcatraz.
Oh.
That would be one, wouldn't it? Alcatraz.
And Graceland was that?
Graceland.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
See, so the two of them, you know, I think Graceland would tip. I think Graceland would win. I would say Graceland.
Yeah, that's going to have to go on the hit list, isn't it? Well, I don't know if you can get in there, really. And maybe you could sneak a K2 in or Catball. You can do a tour in Graceland, can't you? But I don't know if you could.
I know some people might find it disrespectful because I've been a major Elvis fan for 40 odd years now. And I think it's every Elvis's fans question, is he still there? You know, because people say we believe that Elvis would probably that's the one place, that was his happy place. You know, that's always felt safe and he could do anything, he could just be himself there. So if he was going to be anywhere, it'd be in Graceland. So I would say Graceland.
Yeah.
I think as long as you do it respectfully, I think any place that you go and, you know, it's just a way to see if you communicate with them. I think as long as it's done respectfully, it could be a
cameras and, you know, doing it as a live and all that. Just personally myself, just getting in myself.
Just a one-on-one basis.
Just a kind of one-on-one. No cameras, no recording, just to sit there and just, you know, try and find out that way.
Oh, Benny Hill's buried in Southampton. And while Nanda was going for a hospital appointment once, I went there with the K2, played Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West, and put my EVP on and did some calling out. Are you there, Benny? But nothing. No, he must have passed on.
Benny Hill is that. You don't know who Benny Hill was.
No.
Yeah.
Is he the one that was in?
He's big in America.
Benny Hill. Was he in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, the toy maker?
Yeah, and that tune.
Is that the one? That's what I know.
The wee old baldy guy running about in the...
Yeah.
Is that him? Oh,
Yeah.
I think
I don't know. I only know Chitty Bang Bang.
I think it was Benny Hill. That's where that originates. The slapping of the head.
Yeah.
He's actually done it every episode of his program. Nando looks a bit confused there.
He's a bit younger than us, Scott. I remember Benny Hill.
I think that's my youth show, and like I'm.
Yeah, I don't know who he is. Hill, and you see him the wee old guy. I always felt sorry for him because he always gets slapped in the head every single time.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Right, Scott, Sarah, very last question, if I may. So you're hosting a dinner party, and you can invite 5 guests, either dead or alive. Who would you have at your dinner party?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Scott's having a good think about it.
We can cut it down to 3 if it's too much to think about.
I have to go first.
Yeah.
Thomas Potts.
Thomas Potts.
Henry VIII.
Oh.
Henry VIII.
Cardinal Wolsey. Elvis.
Oh, he's got to have Elvis.
Wolsey, Elvis.
That's 4.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Roger Knowles as well.
Well, that'd be an interesting dinner party, wouldn't
That'd be quite a mix there.
Yeah.
What about you, Sarah? Have you got any thoughts who you would have?
Mine would be Mary Queen of Scots.
Wow.
Chester. I don't know if I've got a third.
What about Anne Boleyn?
No. I don't know if I thought.
Well, it's a good mix there.
Yeah.
With your one, Scott, Henry VIII. Why Henry VIII?
I just think Henry VIII, no disrespect to any of the other monarchs, I just think Henry VIII is probably one of the most famous monarchs in British history.
I've got to
I know
disagree there.
A lot of people, you're Mary Queen of Scots. When you look at what Henry VIII done for Britain and what have you, way back then, how controversial he was, I think it'd be interesting to sit and, talk to him. And the thing, we've done a lot with the Tudors, and the thing is, Henry VIII was always portrayed, after his accident as this tyrant, and Anne Boleyn wanted her dead and all the rest of it. I'd like to actually sit, because there is evidence to show that after the execution, he did actually regret what he'd done, signing the death warrant and what have you. And he realised that he'd been more or less set up by members of the Privy Council, Wolsey and what have you. And I'd like to sit down and ask him, what went through your head after Anne's execution when you realised it was too late?
Yeah.
There was no way back. You'd executed an innocent woman, basically. So I think that's why I just think he was a really, really interesting guy.
It'd be nice to go back in time and actually speak to these people, wouldn't it? And find out their story.
Aye,
Get some answers to some questions.
Thomas Potts, he was the author. The only book in existence of the record of the Pendle Witch Trials in 1612 was Thomas Potts that wrote it, because he was there at the trials. You're sort of clerk or whatever, I don't know what the word is these days, recording the trial and everything. I'd love to sit down with him and find out exactly how little Alice was manipulated by Roger Knowles, the magistrate.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one final question to really end this for you guys. You guys are doing amazing, with, tying in the paranormal with history a lot on your podcast. What you guys got coming up that everyone can go to your page and look? Have you got investigations coming up that people can check you guys out on? And
you want to say it since you say I talk too much?
No, you can say it.
She tells me I talk too much and then says, no, you say it. Well, you know, where's the sense? We're right now, I'll start again. We're working on the Wallace Trail just now with Society of William Wallace. So we're planning that now. That's getting filmed in October. That should be finished by hopefully November. So we'll get that. The 29th of October, we're doing a water investigation on the 1st of 4th. 1st of Clyde, sorry. We're doing that. We have Nighthawk Paranormal and the Silent Hunter. They're coming up to Edinburgh. The 8th and 9th of October, we're investigating with them. And then later on in the month, Charlie and Rocks are coming up to Edinburgh as well. So we're meeting up with them. We'll get some collaborations coming up with Spike over the next couple of months. We're going to be returning to some of the locations that we've done with them to see if we get the same evidence as we did before and we can build on it. So we've got quite a few things in the bag. We have cut down. We did do a lot of lies, but we've cut down on our lies to let us concentrate on the Wallace Trail.
Yeah.
Because that's going to take us, quite a bit of time putting together. So, and that's we've got a Halloween special as well. Obviously, I was going to say Christmas. Jesus,
it's around the corner.
It's not long away.
Yeah, and you've been doing some wicked TikToks as well. I've been watching you today and liking them all.
Yeah.
Well, you've got us all up to high door. Up to high door, is that right?
You've
up
got
to high door.
What's
that means dressed out.
No, you got us all worked up. That's what it said on YouTube.
That's worked up.
What dressed? I like the TikTok. I like doing it. I only recently learned to do them.
You never mastered the Scottish language.
I'm
Originally, me and Scott are from 15 miles apart. And say something down here where I'm originally from in Ayrshire that means totally different than what it means in Glasgow.
Oh, it does. It does. If you say in Ayrshire a shot in the swings, it means go to swing park. You say in Glasgow, you get a shot in the swings. It means something totally different. I'm not going to. You can get a general idea of what it means. Did you get a shot in the swings last night?
Shot in the swings last night. I've been trying to roll my arms and everything. Hold my arms. I'm trying to relate, Scott.
She tries, but
is that you?
No, you say her Jewish. She does. She's coming on. She's learning Scottish.
Yeah.
And she does she does really try hard. And you're a wee star. You really are.
Can you push a granny off a bus? No, can you push a granny?
She is funny,
off a bus?
Bless her.
That's coming up. So we've got a couple of busy months ahead of us.
Yeah.
And for the guys that are watching now and on playback, go and check out Scott, Sarah, Paranormal and History.
Yeah.
They're always putting contents on there. They have a lot of guests on their podcast as well.
Yeah.
And also check them out on TikTok. There's a lot of contents that you can see what they do and some of the evidence that they pick up. So it's absolutely brilliant to be able to talk to you guys and find out more about the Scottish history. And for me, about the Loch Ness. It's been a real
honour having you guys. I could listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure for us, and it's been a long time coming.
Yes, it is. I was saying to Sarah, we need to get Scott on. She's been on your podcast before. Let's get Scott and get people to know Scott and everything. And Sarah as well. It's been lovely having you on as well, Sarah.
We come up to Scotland one time. Can we meet up and have a whiskey and an iron brew, or have a little trot around? Show us the sights.
Did you say a whiskey and iron brew?
Yeah, I like that. Or I like it with ginger.
Say whiskey and iron brew again.
Whiskey and iron brew.
Of course you can. You're welcome up here anytime.
I think that is a collaboration that would work. It would be,
You can fly from Southampton as well.
I think that would be fun as well. Some of the locations, that we've seen you guys do, you know, on your TikToks and everything, I would love it.
Be a fun thing to do.
And me and you, Scott, go and sit by,
Have a beer.
you know, see if we can see the Loch Ness and
I
take a
think
bottle of
that's
whiskey with
bit
us.
far from where they are.
Hey,
isn't it?
still up for it.
Yeah.
A little road trip.
That's the thing, Sarah. I love driving. I'll drive and drive, you know, just.
See?
He really does. He'll say to us, like, he'll say to me in the rain on a Sunday, do you want to go a drive? And I'm like, right, fine. And then we'll start at like 8 hours later, 250 miles away, and you're like, Scott, I want to
Even I could, you know, we went to, a couple of weeks ago, we went to Inveraray on Sunday. The weather wasn't great, you know, and we're sitting in Inveraray, and I thought, do you want to go to Oban? We'll go to Oban. So we ended up burging off the Oban. It was about another 60 mile up the road or something. And then we came back the long way, you know. I've always loved driving, and, you know, especially driving around Scotland, Loch Ness, and, you know, Fort William, John Madrock, all they kind of places. You can't beat it.
It's a beautiful place.
You cannot beat it. You cannot beat it. That's a Scotland.
No.
Can't beat it. But we'll need used to on our show.
Oh.
Well, that's something that we can have a chat about,
Yeah.
and, you know, we could definitely make that happen. But guys, thank you so much for taking the time out this evening, sharing your stories, you know, sharing your experience. It's been great.
Awesome.
Sorry for every Scottish person that's watching that Sarah ruined your accent completely.
I'm trying to relate.
But she's trying, bless her.
I am trying.
She'll get it right eventually. But we'll let you get on with the evening, and, you know, thank you everyone for watching. Again, you know, we appreciate everyone's support following us. Go and follow Paranormal in History as well. Give them a follow. You know, it's some cracking podcasts and stuff. But we'll say bye to everyone, and thank you very much.
Ciao for now.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 Brilliant. So absolutely fantastic chat with Scott and Sarah from Paranormal and History. Again, thank you everyone for watching. And if you're going to watch on playback, please do. Events for us, we will be heading to Beresden and Brickworks on Saturday. You know, so if there's anyone local that wants to join, you know, go on our website. There's still tickets available. And then we've got the 24th of September, where we'll be heading to Oxford Castle and Prison.
That's a sleepover.
And that's a sleepover.
Yeah.
And again, I think there's tickets left on that as well. So if anyone wants to join us for an investigation, please do. But again, thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your evening wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye.